Hey everyone, today I'm gonna break down the Wrexham QPR match with a little recap. Maybe talk about a couple fixes and some things that you and I probably both saw. And to be honest, I don't think there's any way to describe that defensive display other than totally shambolic. It's just simply not good enough for a team of this caliber, at least on paper. And I'm sure everyone will agree. And is it time for panic yet? Absolutely not. But I know that yesterday's loss hurt a lot of people. From an objective point of view, it wasn't that bad to watch. Subjectively, as a fan, you're probably having kittens because I know I was. And of course, that was a home game at the race course, and to have QPR, not Liverpool, not Man City, come in and just thoroughly dominate you against what should have been happening is probably not going to be palatable to anyone. So let's get into it first of all, because the match stats are kind of crazy. Because Wrexham had, I don't know, it was about 60-40 possession. They had way more passes, and here's the crazy part: they lost 3-1 at home. But the XG, and this is where I have problems with XG, because a lot of times the stat is misleading. It's disturbingly off. So Wrexham's XG was about 2.64, and QPR's was 1.43. An expected XG from open play was, let me see here, I have it on the stat. Wrexham's was 2.64, again, and 1.43 for QPR, but from open play, 1.8 versus QPR's 1.01. And they got 3 goals, which means basically that your defense is just not doing their job, okay? A couple other stats of note to me was that passing, Wrexham had 400, almost 490 passes to QPR's 300 or so. But forward passes, QPR had 150 to Wrexham's 142 or 143. So they're doing more with the ball, even though they have it less. Okay. Crosses, 2-1 or 2.11 to 1. Okay. Wrexham, almost 40 crosses versus QPR's. But the problem was shots. 21 for Wrexham, 15 for QPR, only 8 on target for Wrexham, 6 on target for QPR, plus they hit the woodwork once, okay? And what I've seen in defense is, again, another unit that no one's really talking and leading as a general, and that's, I'm sure the staff is working on that. I'm going to give them the benefit of doubt because I know how hard they try to work as a unit. The problem is I do not see leadership out there in that defensive unit. Arthur does not seem to be a big talker in goal, and I think he could have done better with a lot of things yesterday. I'm sure he would agree. But I see the real problem, and it has nothing to do with the own goal, that Cody is disrupting the balance. And if you notice, Wrexham is getting scored on a lot, not just this match, but overall, when they have numbers on defense, and they're giving up goals when they have 6 defenders and it's 3 attackers, and they simply can't clear the ball. And speaking of clearances, QPR, 43 clearances to Wrexham's 24. 43 clearances. And they cleared 1 off the line. Tackles, 70% they won versus Wrexham's 50%. Okay? That's total tackles. Wrexham somehow had 20 total tackles, right? To QPR's 10. But yet, it just doesn't make sense. You see that ball pinging around in the penalty area for Wrexham, and they just don't clear it, and that's not going to be good enough. And the crosses were decent. And let's get it out in the open. Kiefer Moore did his job again. Fantastic. We need someone else stepping up with that type of production, and they need to lessen the goals. And the only way you're going to lessen the goals is, it looks like to me, better communication, because they do have balance and cover. I don't know what's the matter with Cody. He's disrupting that. He's not making the tackles he should. He's too good of a player to be a defensive liability. And right now, not just this match, but previous matches, he is a problem in the middle right now. And I don't know if it's trying to get used to new people around him, this and that. I thought Kluworth was pretty solid again, and I've had some banter online with people. Kluworth is not going to the bench. He is their most valuable defender, not only for money, because he's worth $4 to $5 million, but he's still learning. He's still getting better. Okay, you're not taking him out because he's good defensively and he's good offensively, and he's going to find a spot in there. So the big problem on defense, like I said, without the communication, is crosses are coming in. They're not dealing with them properly. It's like they just don't get a foot on the ball. And this is a mental thing. It's not a technical thing. We know that they're capable of doing that. But the other part, offensively, if you notice their best chances, they had possession. they're knocking the ball around slowly in the back. There's a lot of square passes, and then they're looking for that one over-the-shoulder ball through. Case in point, if you remember, Ryan Hardy had a couple, and he doesn't have the pace to beat somebody like that, but he did a nice job with it. He did not really create anything else, and I'm not sure his strongest game is going to be balls that are through and over the top. And that's the other problem I have. A lot of square passes instead of going forward to go back to go forward again. There is no one driving the team with hard, on-the-ground, through ball passes that penetrate, or at least penetrate to somebody checking back to lay the ball off. That's not happening. All their starts are going long balls that are hitting air, nothing on the ground. They're not making penetrating passes like that, and they're not penetrating at all in through the center on the dribble. They are getting down the wings, as you can see by the crosses, and that's fantastic. But yesterday's match required something more than that. And set pieces, I don't think they're making the most of that, and they're not drawing enough fouls around the box. Again, outside of Moore, who's been incredible, and I am overjoyed at his performance, they're not getting production, and that's the problem they had last year. We're shipping Mullen off to Wigan and other players like this, bringing in more expensive players to do the same thing, not get you points. Okay? So that's a problem. But worse, what's up with shipping all these goals? It's a unit problem, and I'm sure they're going to take care of that. It is basically communication and heads on a swivel, but make the tackle in front of you. That's just basic defense right there, and that's not getting done. I thought they've done great of limiting certain types of chances, but when the ball's dropping in the box, it's pinging around like Keystone Cops or a bunch of monkeys trying to hump a hockey puck. That's not getting it done. So, again, not time to panic, but they better tighten up real quick because you shouldn't be dropping points at home to QPR, right? And a tough one coming up at Norwich on the road. That's not an easy place to play, and they need to start picking up some points. So we'll see you next time, and hopefully they do better in their next match.